when he was able to shift his perspective on this and realize that the journey is the destination, there's always going to be the next outcome, the next milestone, the next goal. It really helped him to be able to enjoy the journey a lot more, because he realized that it wasn't the milestones that he was chasing. It was the thrill of the growth that he was experiencing within his own self, in his own life.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Powerful Man Show. I am your host, Doug Holt, with my co-host and founder, Tim, the Powerful Man, Matthew.
In my head, I was going, careful.
You're just baiting me now.
Like a cliffhanger every time. Wow. Wow.
Most people that have listened to us for a while know what we're like, but we're definitely like brothers. So we pick on each other more often than not. But having said that, this subject falls right in line with you, Tim. So what is it like when you don't actually achieve what you say?
I always ask you because it's something you always struggle with. So I'll take it away, though, because I know how sensitive you are about talking about your insecurities. So how this topic has came about, this morning, in fact, the most random thing, I was sat journaling. I'd done my morning routine. Well, I say a routine, it's a ritual. Goes on for a few hours, including working out and the sauna, the cold shower. Oh, I love it. It's so great, and just a side note, Doug, it's so great to go to bed on a night to be excited about waking up the following day. I'm so grateful for it. It's amazing. But anyway, so this morning I was sat there, just imagine this, there's a big jacuzzi in the middle. There's a lot of sunbeds or lounges, let's call them, around the jacuzzi. I've just been in the steam room, been in the sauna, had the cold shower, and I was sat there on the lounger just overlooking the jacuzzi. And the most random thought popped in my mind. I don't have a clue where it came from or why it was there or, whatever. I just had to think about this story of a lottery winner that I heard. And she'd won, a significant amount of money, millions, tens of millions. But within a few years, she'd lost it all. And that's a trend with quite a lot of lottery winners. And it really got me thinking about, when results don't show up fast enough, sometimes we can become so impatient about wanting the results to be here now, whether it's to have a deeper level of intimacy and trust and connection with your wife, or to have a lifestyle whereby your business serves your life and you're able to work from anywhere, with anyone, whenever you want, whatever it is, or whether it's getting in shape. And we can get into this cycle so often of impatience, yet the reality is it's quite a beautiful thing that the results don't show up too quickly, because just like the lottery winner, if we are given things that we aren't ready for, they often just crumble and fall through. So let's take, for example, reconnecting with your wife. I speak to a lot of men that wanted to reconnect with their wife yesterday. I'd give anything to him just to walk through the door in an evening and have her look at me like she used to do, just admire me for the man that I am. I know I've kind of lost touch with that somewhat, but I'd love for her to look at me in the eye and just feel that spark and that passion again. But the reality is that if he was to wake up tomorrow and be in that situation, it would have robbed him of the journey of actually learning what to do, what actions to take, and doing them consistently to actually make sure his wife is in that position to reignite the relationship. And it's only in that process of actually taking the actions consistently, day in, day out, being committed to the outcome, that you shift as an individual. You actually shift. And it's in that place that you're actually able to maintain the result for much longer with much less effort and enjoy it so much more.
So when do you find this occurs to you, Tim?
He's so funny, Doug. When do I find this occurs to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, everyday life, right? So often, years ago in The Powerful Man, I used to get so transfixed on the revenue goals, right? But we're building a movement here that is so much bigger than revenue goals. Those revenue goals, whether it's yearly, monthly, quarterly, whatever, they're just points in time that we just move on past, we move on through, because we're building something that's much bigger and much greater than that. And the more that I focus on who I am on a daily basis and taking those actions to make sure that I can show up every day in the Powerful Man and be productive and significantly move the needle, and then also be able to go back to Amelia and switch off and leave work at work and be able to be present and connect with her, it's absolutely key for me anyway to be able to focus on the process. In the past, when I've focused on the destination, the outcome, I've become impatient, like I was saying a moment ago, and that takes me out of the process and puts me in this cycle of feast or famine, whether it's feast or famine in my sex life, feast or famine with my energy, feast or famine with revenue, whatever it is. It puts me in a cycle that isn't productive. And we often, I'm in conversations with the men in the brotherhood sometimes, and it's so easy, like I say, human nature these days, we live in a society where it's immediate gratification, right? You just swipe your phone open, you can order, a book from Amazon, and you wake up in the morning, it's on your doorstep. We expect everything now because that's the society we live in. Yet if you apply that to growth in any area of your life where you actually want a meaningful, lasting result, then it's just not going to work. It's just, you've got to be in it for the long haul. You've got to be committed. And it reminds me of the men that I spoke with last week. We covered this on a previous podcast episode. Guys who told me that they wanted to reconnect with their wife and save the marriage, but their actions said something completely different. And for him, when the results didn't show up, when the reconnection with his wife didn't show up, he gave up. He stopped. He got shiny object syndrome and just moved on to, made excuses and moved on to something else, instead of staying committed to the outcome and trying something else, trying something new, trying a different approach, because obviously doing the same thing, expecting a different result is the definition of insanity, right? But when the results don't show up fast enough, what do you do?
Yeah, this really reminds me a lot of something, that I've heard somebody else say, but I say it all the time now, is, to me, the definition of a man is somebody who does what's necessary even when it's not easy. And I think we go into teenage mode is when we go from one object to another just because it's convenient, right? That's the lifestyle of a child or a teenager. And I think a lot of the guys out there haven't gone through, we call it the alpha reset, but some kind of rite of passage where they're able to distinguish, first of all, what does a powerful man really mean? And actually really get optics and realize that sometimes a man does what it takes, right? That's my definition, rather than just what's easy. And so that's when you look at, okay, if you want to get to a destination or a goal, and of course we all want, 6-minute abs. No, I want 4-minute abs, right? We all want it yesterday, but you want to come up with kind of smart goals, right, within your plan. And if your plan isn't good, you just readjust, like you were talking about. If you're a golfer and you hit with your club, you hit the head of the club, hits the golf ball, even 1 degree off, that's the difference between hitting it towards the green and totally slicing the ball, right? And hitting it off into the trees. So it's that subtleties you always want to fine tune. That's why in the Powerful Man, we use the coil, right? The coil allows us to do that and getting optics around what we're trying to get to. And if you're getting frustrated because you're not getting there fast enough, remember, this is a journey, guys. This is an absolute journey that we're on and a way to do it. What would life look like if you knew you were going to live for 500 years? How would that change your perspective? How would that change the way you think about things? How would that change the way you would act? And are you doing things that are easy and convenient while avoiding things that are necessary? Are you putting things in your face? Are you checking Facebook? Are you checking your calendar? Are you checking your phone? When you know you should just be getting to work and getting things done. Tim, I think a lot of the guys, that we end up talking to and going through optics, they're very successful, very smart men. But at the same time, when we look at their workflow, really look at it, not what they tell us, but really what their workflow is. When we look at it, we realize that really over an 8-hour period, they're really getting about 2 hours of productivity in there, really solid productivity. And to your point, what if you actually really put that 2 hours of productivity in the forefront, and maybe you had 8 hours of solid productivity? That's almost a full work week for the average person in one single day. And that allows you to get to those goals quicker, but also realizing if you don't hit it right away, are you on the right path, right? Are you on the right path to getting there? The Powerful Man, it's helping men out. Whether we help one man out or 1,000 men, our goal is just really to help guys out and help them, unburden themselves. Hey, sorry to interrupt the show, but I wanted to ask you a question. Do you ever feel like something's just missing? Like there's something more out there and you just can't put your finger on it? I totally get it. Go over right now to thepowerfulman.com/freedom to discover the system that other businessmen just like you are using. We've included 10 case studies, 10 men just like you who have found the solution and have found their way on their path. And we want to share that with you. Go over to thepowerfulman.com/freedom right away. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, it reminds me of when the penny really dropped, one of the guys in the Brotherhood. When we were speaking about the concept of the journey being the destination, because this guy had a habit of sprinting. It's almost like he would rally the troops every day and go full throttle, redlining it to achieve this outcome, thinking that when he got there, that's when he would take his foot off the gas. That's when everything would fall into place and he'd finish earlier and life would become easy and, all these problems would disappear. So, it just wasn't sustainable for him. And he'd go through this cycle of constantly getting burnt out every few months. And again, when he got burnt out, he'd then rally the troops again and go again. And just like if you redline a car, you can only do it for so long before it breaks down. He would break down every few months. He'd get burnt out. So when he was able to shift his perspective on this and realize that the journey is the destination, there's always going to be the next outcome, the next milestone, the next goal. It really helped him to be able to enjoy the journey a lot more, because he realized that it wasn't the milestones that he was chasing. It was the thrill of the growth that he was experiencing within his own self, in his own life, that he loved so much. So he actually realized that and overcame some of his own insecurity as well, because part of the reason why he used to be driven so much was because he was so busy trying to prove himself. And it's one of the reasons why, no matter what he achieved, it was just never enough. He was never satisfied. He was always moving on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, which took him away from his wife and his kids and so on. But when you're actually able to realize that A, you have nothing to prove, and B, that the journey is the destination, there's always going to be another goal, it allows you to relax into the process a lot more. And it's not a case of, what do you do when results don't show up fast enough? Because you stop focusing on the result and focus way more on the process. For example, if the result you're focusing on is reconnecting with your wife or reigniting the relationship with your wife, well, when is that ever complete? And let's say that in your own mind, that's complete when you're having sex 4 times a week, or when you can walk through the door in an evening and she looks at you in a certain way, or whatever it is. Well, then what are you going to do? Are you going to stop there? Is that going to be the ceiling for you when you're having sex 4 times a week, or when she is looking at you a certain way? Or are you going to instead focus on the process and continue to be the best husband that you can be, the best father that you can be, the best man that you can be?
Well, for a lot of what you're saying is these guys are looking for things external of themselves, and they haven't found their true north, their true center. They haven't found the powerful man within inside them. And when you find that, Tim, you have more security, more stability. You can stand in your power. When you're in that point where you no longer have to rely on things external of yourself, the journey becomes much more enjoyable. Or you actually get to enjoy the whole journey, the ups, the downs, the spin arounds, whatever it is. You get to enjoy the whole process of it and no longer rely on external stimulus, which you have no control over, affect you. That's no longer becomes your guiding light. And so you can actually really focus on those things that matter to you rather than what society has told you to focus on.
Yeah, so true. And I think that's where the men experience such a big shift in the early days in the activation method. And one of the ways in which they experience a lot more closeness, let's say, with the wife. And again, it's the reason why we put the fundamentals of alpha together, right? We've spoken in previous episodes about within 5 territories. And when the men come to us, they're living from the outside in, which means they've got business as the first territory, wealth as the second, relationships as a third, if they have anything left at the end of the working day or working week to actually give to their wife and kids. And if they do, then after that is health and then self, which barely even get touched. And they're living from the outside in, relying on cars or homes or holidays or money, whatever it is, to give them something. It's never enough. Whereas what we then teach the guys, or what the guys realize rather, is the importance of living from the inside out and flipping that on its head and putting self as the base level territory, and then health, because when you are focusing there first, you're able to be clear. You've got clarity. You wake up in the morning excited about the day ahead and energized because you know exactly what actions you've got to take, and you're able to be a decisive leader and take them easily and quickly. So the needle is moving in the business, which then frees up more of your headspace and more of your time to then go and invest into your relationships, which is a third territory. And then business number 4, and then wealth number 5. Is when you start living from the inside out that you're able to, like you were saying, Doug, let go of all of the external validation or circumstance that keeps you trapped, or it keeps the men we work with anyway, and the men I speak with, is keeping them trapped. And when you do that, it's not about the result. It becomes about the process.
Beautifully said. So, Tim, what advice would you give these guys that are going through this? They're self-identifying themselves in this situation.
What advice would I give? Well, look, if you are self-identifying in this situation and you have tried a few things and you don't really know why it's not working for you, then first of all, know that you're not alone. I speak to men every day that are in that situation. And my advice would be for you to head over to thealphareset.com and just have a look on there. Maybe something resonates with you. If it does, then great. You and I will speak. If it doesn't, then that's fine as well. If you do not take that piece of advice and you still remain trapped and stuck, what can I say? Reflect, get real with yourself. Are you living from the outside in or from the inside out? And if it is the outside in, then I would invite you to delve into why. Like I say, we give the men a specific system and toolkit to be able to do this. It's a little bit difficult to just give in a point here, quite frankly. But just get some optics around why that is, if that is the case for you. And reach out to somebody. I don't think you can do this on your own. And the reason why I say that is because I tried it myself. I was very proud and very stubborn. And I tried it on my own for many years. And I experienced little, if any, success. I didn't get why it was so hard. Why my life was such a pattern of stress, struggle, and sacrifice. Because I was doing all the right things. I was working hard. I was hustling long days. I was, knocking things out. But it wasn't about the strategies. It wasn't about what I was doing. It was a lot more about who I was being and the man behind the strategy. You can give 2 men the same strategy and it will work for one and, it'll flop for another. So it's much more about who you were being rather than what you were doing. So whether you go to thealphareset.com or not, my advice would be to get some support with this, because it's so difficult to see your own blind spots. They're impossible to see your own blind spots.
Well said and so true. Well, gentlemen, that's a wrap for us on another episode of The Powerful Man Show. We'll see you next time.